Hi there, my name's Mark and this is episode one of my daddy diary. Okay, so I guess I'm just going to jump right in. Those of you that don't know, myself and my husband recently became fathers through surrogacy. Our little baby girl Sophie was born on the 10th of September at 5:23 in the morning. There is actually already a very cool video sort of documenting that day from our surrogate, because she is also a Channel Mum vlogger, and you can check that out. I'm going to pop links down below so that you can have a look at her videos as well, so you could maybe backtrack and see a little bit more of our journey up until this point. But from here on in, I also wanted to document things so that in the years to come, hopefully, I'll be able to sit down with Sophie and watch what her journey through childhood has been like. So yeah, I thought, why not? So we'll crack on the 10th of September. It was about, well, it was exactly 4 that I received the first phone call. I was quite happily in bed. Lisa was already overdue, but certainly by the hospital's date she was 1 week and 1 day overdue, and then by our own dates, because obviously we knew when the insemination was, she was 5 or 6 days late. So we knew that Sophie was imminent any day now. There was definitely a lot of tension for us and for Lisa and for her family, that maybe she was going to leave it as late as possible and have to be induced and it would all be dramatic, which wouldn't have been a complete surprise, because those of you who know me, I'm not at all dramatic. Alright, so maybe I am. So we thought maybe she may follow suit. But yep, Monday morning at 4, my phone started going off, and my first reaction was actually, what on earth have I set an alarm for? I've already finished work. What have I done? Why? And I'm fumbling around like on the bedside table trying to find my phone. Finally I get it, look at it and go, oh, it's Darren. Literally straight away I was awake. Like, you know that when something wakes you up and it's instant? Straight away I was like, I'm alert, I'm awake. This can only mean one thing. Swiped, answer the phone call. Hi Darren, and it's silence, and it wasn't even like a muffled kind of, it was just complete silence on the line. So that wasn't great, and I'm just like, hello, can you hear me, Darren? Oh crap. So in the end, like, obviously we disconnected, and I phoned him back, and he said, yeah, we really think Lisa's actually gone into labour. I think she was actually still just ahead of really knowing for sure, judging by her timing on her videos and whatnot. But yeah, she was pretty sure that it had all started. So I've sort of gone running into the living room. For some reason, I think Mark was already up, or he'd woke up in the night and was in there in the living room, and woke him up. I was like, Darren's on the phone, and he thought it was a completely different Darren. Oh, well, what's he done now? One of our friends. It's another story for another video, promise, I promise. So yeah, he woke up, and we very quickly started to get ourselves ready, whilst I was then trying to phone Darren back, like give him a call back, just to make sure. Yeah, so we're kind of running around, inhaling a very quick cup of coffee, grabbing hospital bags, changing bag, like all the bits and pieces that we knew we were going to need, and literally got straight into the car and made our way down. So yeah, we were driving along, got our music on as the usual, and we got a text to say that they were heading to the hospital, which was an indicator that it probably wasn't going to go as quick as some of Lisa's previous labours, which meant we may have a little bit more time to get there and that we weren't going to miss the actual birth. From day one we'd all said that yeah, it would be ideal if Mark and I could be there. So yeah, generally it takes around 2 to 2.5 hours to get down there, so the chances of actually making the birth were always kind of a little bit slim, and since we didn't know when she was going into labour, we couldn't already be there, like, nearby. So yeah, it was a hope thing. But yeah, so they'd text me, and we were driving along, more music, And then the phone goes again at 5:25, and Darren just said, "She's here." Sorry, what? Really? What? Because it seemed really fast, like really fast. I mean, I know we already knew Lisa laboured very, very quickly, but because earlier phone calls had sort of suggested it'd be slower, yeah, no, she was born at 23 minutes past 5. So she was already here. We were only just past the Dartford crossing. It was probably only about halfway through our journey. And then I started feeling really bad because I'm like, oh, now Lisa's going to be stuck with looking after a baby that isn't hers. We need to get a shift on. One thing I did notice, because obviously we had the music on in the car, and I was like, oh, I wonder what song was playing when, like at 5:23, what was the song playing? And I had a quick look on my phone, and I thought I knew what it was, because it had only been a couple of minutes. But yeah, we actually had a look, and it was I See the Light from Tangled, the Disney movie, which straight away set the pair of us off. Because if you go and listen to that song, and listen to the lyrics, particularly in the second verse, and the words seem somewhat perfect. And so we just literally started bawling our eyes out in the car. We'd not even met her yet, and we're already crying our eyes out. And then the rest of the journey was pretty uneventful, to be honest. We got to the hospital. I think we finally parked up at the hospital. It was around about 6:15. So we'd actually managed to do the journey in an hour and a half, which was our best ever time, which was great. Then tried to call Darren just to let him know we were here, and he let us know that basically Lisa had had a tear, and she had the midwives in at that point. She was having some stitches. I say some, I mean substantial stitching, and that we could go in, but we'd need to wait in the waiting area, which was fine, you know, don't want to intrude, and also like stitches, didn't want to pass out, not gonna lie. So yeah, we made our way into the hospital, sat in the waiting room, and then I think it was at about 7 o'clock. I must admit, we got there at 6:15, and it was probably nearly 7 by the time they were done, and we already knew she'd given birth at 5:23, so there was that kind of, once Darren said that she was having stitches, and then with each passing minute, like, I was like, oh my God, this must be really, really bad. Oh God, is she going to be okay? All those worries and those fears, because obviously anything can happen in childbirth, just like an operation can. And those worries have always been in the back of my mind. And so the longer it went on, the more I was aware of just how substantial that stitching must have been in order to make sure that Lisa was okay. So about 7ish, the midwives came over and said, you know, it's time to go in. And I remember feeling this like really, really nervous feeling deep in my stomach. Because this is the moment we'd been waiting for, not just for the 9 months that Lisa was pregnant, but obviously since the day that we said we were going to be parents, and if truth be known, since the day when I was a kid, when I dreamed of being a dad, I wondered, you know, what it's going to be like to meet my child. She opened the door and the curtains were across, and they gently pulled the curtain back, and there was Lisa laying on the bed with little Sophie next to her. Darren was in the corner filming, because obviously they wanted to capture our reactions, and I remember feeling a bit almost reactionless. I think straight away I went into my head of, oh my God, is this real? Or am I dreaming? It didn't entirely feel real. Felt like it was almost like a dream. I was very much in my head at that moment, and I just remember looking at our little baby girl and thinking, oh my God, she is gorgeous. She's absolutely stunning. And every parent's going to say that, yes, I give you that, but she is absolutely stunning as a baby. And then I looked at Lisa and just thought, you've just been through labour, right? Because she'll tell you otherwise. I'm sure if you watch her videos, she's like, oh, I look awful. She didn't. I can promise you now. In fact, I might even put in a little clip, because I think I've got some footage of Lisa not long after she'd given birth. She looked radiant is probably the best word. There was a glow about her. I felt even more aware of the thing that, like, this incredible thing that she's actually done for us. Like, yeah, it's amazing. Then obviously there was a lot of kerfuffle and lots of things to do, as it were. Eventually the midwives came back, and they'd I must admit, I will say a shout out to the midwife team down at that hospital, because they were amazing. We'd read horror stories about the treatment that gay couples can get, and in surrogacy situations, because a lot of hospitals don't necessarily agree or don't really have a process in place for it. It seemed to me that this hospital very much did. They were very well aware of what was going on, how it was going to work. They'd already planned out for themselves what they were going to do. They'd actually, they hadn't put her first nappy on. They'd just literally wrapped her in a blanket. The umbilical cord they'd trimmed down, but they'd left enough there so that one of us could cut the cord. They hadn't even weighed her when we get there, because obviously one of the early questions I asked was, oh, what's the weight? And Lisa was like, we actually don't know yet. They're waiting till you got here. And it was like, oh, wow. And I just thought it was a really lovely thing for them to do. It's a very lovely touch, because I guess those moments in an everyday situation, I guess, are kind of really big moments that you want to enjoy. So it was lovely that the midwives had kept that for us. So yeah, we decided that Mark was going to cut the cord. He did that bit, and then I did the first nappy, and then we did the baby weight, and she weighed a very good 8 pounds 7 ounces, so it was very healthy. Just everything seemed very good. She has a very healthy appetite, even at that point. She was very alert. Everyone kept saying how alert she was for a newborn, which was also quite nice. And generally everything was amazing. Then we got the news that on the way out there had been a little bit of meconium. Now, for those that you don't know, and if you're going to get grossed out, I'm really sorry, but I'm not going to lie about it. Meconium is that first baby poop. So it's the big one that everyone talks about. Unfortunately, she'd done that one on the way out, so she left a bit of herself behind inside Lisa. That's a little gross. And Lisa will never let her forget it, I'm sure. Automatically, that means then that you have to be kept in for 24 hours for observation. So they weren't. We at that point we knew we definitely weren't coming home that night, which at the time was like, yeah, it's fine. You know, one night in a hospital, it'll be fine. It's only one night. And then as the day went on, it became more and more difficult, I guess. I mean, thank the heavens that Lisa and Darren were still there. Lisa had actually been cleared to go home, but had decided that she would stay so that she could help. And also, obviously, being a gay couple in a surrogacy situation, if there was anything that happened that would require the birth mother's consent and stuff like that, she wanted to be there because she didn't want anything to be awkward, and she also wanted to make sure she was there to see us off at the end of it. So yeah, the overnight stay was a little bit more challenging, just because obviously we were in a little side room on the labour ward. Lisa had gone off to go to bed because she quite rightly needed some rest. I think we didn't actually get into the room until about 7 PM, and she was finally able to get down to go to sleep at 9, and then obviously we were in the room next door trying to help Sophie, trying to feed her, nappy changing and so on. I think maybe because Mark and I were both running on empty at that point, or well, it wasn't just empty, we were running on pure emotion, and it was a little bit more challenging, I guess, because we were so tense and conscious of being good dads that baby Sophie was picking up on it and just was very restless. She would wake up for 20 minutes, we'd give her a feed, she'd only have a tiny bit of the feed and fall asleep on the bottle, and then she'd go back to sleep, and we'd be like, oh okay, so maybe she's had enough, she'll sleep for a little bit, and then she'd wake up sort of 20 to 30 minutes later again, and that carried on most of the way through the night. We had quite a few visits from the midwives, and so we actually didn't get very much sleep at all. and we kind of felt a little bit trapped because they'd asked us to not be wandering in and out of the room all night, because obviously there are other women that have just given birth and so on and so forth, which is fine. I totally get that. So yeah, we were very, very tired at that point. Then the morning came around and we were finally given the go-ahead, or finally given our discharge notes. The midwife that helped us, she was adamant that she wanted to get us out quite early, obviously because Mark and I have got another long drive back, and this time it was going to be during the day, and I'd already voiced my concern that I don't mind what time we go, I just don't want it to be around rush hour, because the M25 in rush hour is not a nice place. I don't want to be sat there in a traffic jam with a baby that really needs to get out and, you know, not be in a car seat and might need feeding or changing and so on and so on and so on. So she was amazing, and I'm really sorry I can't remember her name. We got out fairly quickly, and, you know, we said our goodbyes with Lisa and made our way home. And I guess that's pretty much it. So yeah, we're now home. There have been a lot of visits from friends and from family, and we're establishing a routine now. She's pretty easygoing. I don't want to like jinx for the future, but you know, she sleeps, then she wakes up, she cries and lets us know that she is definitely ready for food. She hates to have her nappy changed. She's got better over the last couple of days, but she screams. I remember on the first night we were at home and she kept screaming and screaming and screaming, and I was starting to think that maybe something was wrong. At one point I actually did say to Mark, oh, I think maybe we should call the midwife because she's really not settling, and at this point it sounds like we're murdering someone in here. I feel like our neighbours are going to call the police or something. We live in a flat, so thankfully she did settle. She just doesn't like to have her nappy changed. As much as we think we're getting into a routine, she seems to enjoy throwing in a spanner into the works. Some days we think, oh yeah, she definitely, yeah, that's a food cry, and it's not. Or it is, but she'll only have 2 mouthfuls and then she just wants to cuddle. I won't say it's been easy, because that's not fair, and I also don't want to jinx myself. You know, it has been fun. It's been a challenge, but she's doing great. We are so in love. We feel so blessed to have this beautiful little girl in our lives. There are days when I look and I have to take a minute to remember that this is all real. This is actually happening, because we dreamt about it and we spoke about it for such a long time through the whole surrogacy process. You know, there were days when you just think, this is never going to happen, or it's not going to work out for us. We had a few hiccups along the way, particularly on our side, which I've spoken about in blogs, which you can have a look at. It's a daily reminder of just how lucky we are, how grateful we are that we met Lisa and her family, and that she wanted to do this for us. Sorry, I can just hear her in the background. She has just started crying. So thankfully Mark is there with her. This is what we're doing. And I'm going to leave this in because I want you to see that I am keeping it honest. Generally speaking, yeah, we're just so grateful. Grateful is probably the best word. You know, not only have we got our little family, but all of our friends and our family are now over the moon, and there's just so much happiness and so much love going around at the moment. So I think that pretty much does it. I'm sorry that it's such a long video, and I'm going to leave you with some little clips of Sophie pretty much just sleeping, because that is what she does for the most part. And so until next time, see you soon. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.